Hello everybody, welcome to the ETABS and SAFE course. And the last lecture we defined the earthquake static loads. Now in this lecture we want to learn how to define the dynamic earthquake loads. We remind that our building is normally regular building, so we won't need to define dynamic load, but to learn how to define the dynamic load, earthquake load, we will assume that we have a irregular building, and we will define dynamic load. To define the dynamic earthquake load, we must first of all define the static load, then we go to define the dynamic load. To define dynamic load, we go to define, first of all we go to function response spectrum. We choose here the code using for calculation, and we put here add a new function. We name it dynamic, and we put here the CA and CV of our project. CA and CV of our that we calculate them and the last lecture. We press here OK. We delete this function, we don't need to them. So we have defined the dynamic response spectrum function. We press here OK. Then we go to define load cases. We press here add a new cases. We name it spec X, so dynamic load and the direction X. When we define the static load, we define 4 loads, but when we will define the dynamic load, we will define only 2 loads, spec X and spec Y. So we will begin with spec X. We name spec X. Load cases type, we put here response spectrum, and we put here add. Okay. U1, that means the dynamic load and the direction X, because 1 is X direction. Function, we put the function that we have defined before. Okay, here we put U3, that mean the dynamic load and the Z direction. We put Z direction with X direction and Z direction with the Y direction. So we put here U3 and dynamic load here function, dynamic function. But U3 on, we divide the factor of U3 over 3. Okay, we divide this number over 3. We press here OK. Then we put add copy of cases. We name it spec Y. Here we change U1, we put here U2. Now, and also we must divide each scale factor by the coefficient R equal to 5.5. And we must divide by R equal to 5.5. We define the dynamic loads. When we do the calculation when we run the model and the calculation, and we have the calculation, we will compare the static load, the SIS4 static load with the dynamic load, and we will show if the dynamic load is below the static load, we will increase the dynamic loads to be minimum equal to the static load. We will do this thing next lecture. Thank you for listening.